little artists, for today's project you're going to need some construction paper, a blue background for the blue sky, or maybe a darker color to make your drawing show up. And I will be using oil pastels for mine. If you do not have oil pastels, you might want to use some crayons. They would work just as well. If you have oil pastels, we're going to start with a white for our drawing. Today we're going to draw our hands. Actually, not our hands, but our mittens, like we were catching snowflakes falling from the sky. And if you see my hands, when I hold them out to catch something, see how my thumbs are sticking outwards? Well, for our drawing, we're going to draw our hands like we're catching snowflakes. So our thumbs need to be pointing outwards. And I'm going to show you how to draw a mitten with your thumbs pointing outward. We're going to use our hand for our mitten. I'm going to put my hand on the side, start with the mitten part, and you know mittens don't have fingers in them, so we're going to draw up and around our fingers. And of course my hands are a little bit bigger than yours, so it's going to be a little harder for me to fit mine on here. Yours should fit better. And then I'm going to go around my thumb and down. And there goes my first mitten. And I'm drawing this mitten with a white oil pastel. And again, if you don't have pastels, you can use crayons. Now that's the easy part because I draw with my right hand. I traced my left hand, so that's easy. If you draw with your left hand, it's going to be a little bit harder to trace your other hand. I just want you to try. Just do your best. It's a simple shape. Just think about it. Go up and around. And I know I usually frown upon you drawing with the wrong hand. But this is just to get our shape. So just do it real quick. Get that shape. And you know how it looks a little bumpy in some areas because I'm not used to drawing with that hand. I'm going to go back and I'm just going to trace over it and smooth it out so that it's not bumpy and it shows up a little bit more. There we go. We have our two mittens and they're ready to catch my snowflakes. Now we're going to decorate our mittens. First, before I forget, let's draw our arms. Our arms are going to be little skinny arms. Remember, when we draw our arms, we have to draw two lines so we can color in our arm. There goes one. And there goes two. So there's my arms right there. So I have two mittens, two arms. And I'm ready to design my mittens. Of course, my mittens will match. They'll be the same colors, the same lines, the same pattern. We're going to use lines to create our pattern. And I just real quick drew some examples of some lines. We have straight line, wavy line, zigzag. I call this line the castle line. It might make you think of a box, so you might want to call it the box line. Your wavy lines can have lots of tall waves. They can be smoother, softer waves. We can make lines with circles. They can be big circles. They can be little circles. So we can use a combination of these to create our patterns for our mittens. Now I'm going to tell you a little secret to help you make sure that both mittens look the same. When you draw something on this mitten, go ahead and draw it in the same place on this mitten. That will help you keep up and keep track. So let's say I start with, I'm going to start with circles to make a line. So if I draw these circles inside my mitten on that side, then I need to do the same thing on this side and trying really hard to make them look the same. It is hard to always keep the same pattern going or make the same shapes or same lines. So just do your best to make them look the same. And then you can pick a different line. So let's say I make a wavy line on this side and a wavy line on this side. And then maybe a straight line. Again, make your own pattern. Do not copy my pattern. Whatever I do to one mitten, I'm going to do to the other because they should be the same. The pattern I have here should repeat on this mitten. I'm going to draw another dot line. Do you see how I put the dots on the thumb? Because my pattern is going to go across the mitten to the thumb. And then I'm going to do another zigzag. And you can even do two lines together if you wanted, like the same line. So there are my mittens. I have my lines and my pattern design. I've taken the pattern here and repeated it onto this mitten. So now the fun part. You get to add colors. You can choose whatever colors you would like. I'm going to start with red at the top. But this is what gets tricky. See how I'm tracing that line? That's where my red stops. But see my polka dots? I think I want my dots to be, you know what? Purple. So I'm going to trace the line and then color it in. So again, while I'm working, if I color these purple, I'm going to color these. If I start coloring this red, then I'm going to color the other side red also. Go ahead and do everything while you're working. Go ahead and repeat your color on the next one while you're working so you don't forget and get behind. You want to stay with a pattern. Now I'm ready for my next color. Now your colors can repeat if you'd like. You get to choose which colors you use. It's just, of course, if that line is red, then this line has to be a different color. See how I'm going to show you again here. I'm going to go down to the next line. I'm going to trace it. I'm going to trace the sides and then fill in that space above. So you don't want to use the same color side by side because then you will lose your pattern. Now I'm going to continue filling in the mittens. I'm going to start on each side again, go down to the next line, cover that line, and then fill it in. I'm going to do this for both of the mittens all the way to the bottom of the mitten, making sure again that I'm coloring both the same using the same pattern. And what I mean by that is I have red, green, purple, red, green, purple, with the purple dots inside. While you're working with pastel, keep in mind you need to keep your hand up off your paper. You don't want to smear the pastel. You don't want to get the red smeared into the blue sky. Keep your hand up off of your paper as you work. Now I'm going to use a skin tone to color in my arms. Now I'm going to have a little snowflakes falling around my mittens. Your snowflakes can be little dots. Just make sure that you don't put them in a straight line. They kind of need to be scattered all over. Now for the next step, you'll need some paper, just a little tiny piece of paper. I'll show you in comparison to my mittens. That's how big it is. So I've got a little tiny piece of white paper. You might need to wash your hands before you touch your white paper because of the pastels. Pastels get kind of messy on our fingers. We don't want to get our white dirty. I'm going to fold it over. We're going to make a little tiny snowflake. So I'm going to fold it once. Triangle. I'm going to go triangle again. And it's really, really small. This is going to be a really small, simple snowflake. I'm going to fold it one more time. And you can see how tiny it is compared to my hand. And what we're going to do is we're just going to cut little tiny shapes, just like we've cut snowflakes before. See how tiny that shape is? Probably only going to get like one or two shapes. If you're having a hard time cutting, just make little triangles. Skip some space, cut a triangle. So you can cut in and then cut in again to make your little triangle. And as I've told you before with snowflakes, make sure every time you cut something, something falls off. So see, I was only able to fit two little shapes on that side. I'm going to make another little shape here, using the strongest part of my scissors, pulling it down into the bottom part of the scissors. And then I'm even going to cut some shapes on this side. Alright, get all my little scraps out of the way. And now I'm going to open up my little tiny snowflake. There it goes. So now I'm going to take my little tiny snowflake and I have a glue stick here. I'm just going to take my glue stick and get my glue on my snowflake. And my snowflake can go in either one of the hands, one of the mittens, or it could go in the middle. So you can put it in one mitten or the middle. Kind of like and there we go. There goes our mitten with the snowflake. I hope you enjoyed this project. Make sure to check out my website or my YouTube channel to find some more of our snow and winter activities.